Hi guys, welcome to 1UX1. Today we're talking about metrics. How do you measure success, metrics in UX research and UX design? So how do you know what is success and how would you relay that back to your stakeholders? That will be asking you, prove that the UX research has worked, the UX testing has worked, and the UX design has worked. So have you understood what users wanted? Have you discussed that as a team? Have you shared that findings and that data? Then has a UX designer designed it and has a developer built it? All of that is linked to metrics, success metrics. So you want attitudinal success metrics and behavioral success metrics. So the attitudinal success metrics are when you ask those questions, a lot of it will be qualitative data heavy. So it'll be about what users felt, what they thought about your website, what they actually did and how they feel about your website or your app or your service. It could be just the software. Now, what you really want to capture here is all those insights about the positives, the negatives, and the passive feedback like the neutrals or any interesting comments. And all of that is measured through surveys, through interviews, through recordings, and you capture all of that and you relay that back and say, right, 25% of users are very happy with the service, 50% of users are neither here, neither there, they're passive, and there's 25% that absolutely love it or absolutely hate it, whatever it might be. So they may be promoters or they may be detractors and they don't like the service. And then you give those reasons and break it down. So they're the sort of success metrics that you want from the attitudes. Now, you also add in quantitative data about the attitudes. So you might also have details on like 1 in 4 users said XYZ, or 3 out of 5 users preferred the blue button to the yellow button or the red button. So in the call to action. So what you want to do is capture all that data. You also want to understand in terms of quantitative data what the sample size was. So for example, if a sample size for a website that's used by millions of users was 100 users or 200 or 500, that's not enough to give significant feedback. It's not usually accepted. If you have millions of users, in proportion to that 500 wouldn't be a large number. Whereas if you had 10,000 users give you feedback, then that's acceptable. So it depends on how big or small the business is. If it's a large corporation that has millions of views a month, then you need a larger sample size. If it's a small little boutique shop or a tiny local business, then small numbers, even 20 people giving feedback is enough. So it all depends on the size of the project, size of the organization that you work for, and that will determine how many numbers and what numbers of users you need to say that this is acceptable as data. Then you have the behavioral KPIs. Now, what you want to really measure here is the time on task, how long it took them to complete that task, whatever it might be, whether it's filling in a form, subscribing, filling in a checkout page, adding their card number, security number, all of that. So that's time on task. You also want to measure things like conversion rate. How many people landed on that landing page or that website or that app and then didn't convert, i.e. they didn't put the card number in, they didn't click checkout or submit, and they left the page. So that conversion rate is really, really important to measure. Then you also want to measure the time on the page. So time on task is how long it took them to complete a task. Time on the page or pages is how long do they stay on your website? Because don't forget, companies want you on their site for as long as possible. If you are clicking through, your bounce rate is really high, click on a site, immediately leave, literally bounce off. That's no good for a business. They want you to stay on the site, stay on the business and browse, maybe buy something, maybe read something. If it's a blog, then they want you to read it for longer. These are the type of KPIs that you need to know. These are the metrics that you will be able to relay back and show success. Another type of metric you want to measure is pages per session. So Not only did they come on the home page, but did they visit lots of pages? Which pages? How long did they stay on each page? That's really, really important. Then we look at something in terms of those key performance indicators, success metrics. So things like net promoter score. So this is about the net number of people that would promote your website or service or app. So for example, if 25 or 30% of people promote your site, say, this is an amazing site, you really need to check this out. I love visiting the site. Every time I come, I have a great user experience. They're the promoters. Then you get the people that are passive. So they are neither here, neither there. They might like it, they might not. They don't really complain. They use it maybe on a regular basis. Maybe they just come sometimes. But they don't complain, but neither are they promoting it. And then you've got the detractors. They don't like your service. They don't like your website. They're complaining about it. They are the ones that you really need to be supporting and helping and listening to. Now, that total score, Net Promoter Score, takes the total of all those scores and gives you a final score. Now, anything over 0 as a total is acceptable. Not great, but acceptable. And if you've got a really great website, your Net Promoter Score will be between 20 and 50. Now, if it's in the minus, that means there are more people that don't like your site, service, or app than there are that do like it or prefer it or recommend it. So if it's in a minus, then you've got a big problem. That's why Net Promoter Score is so important, because you need to know the overall score from all the users, whether they like your product or not. And that will determine whether they'll stay on your site or not, whether they will enjoy using it or even recommend it to others. Or write on Reddit or some blog, I hate this service, I hate this site. That is a real major problem when it comes to metrics, if you don't know how many users like your site, how many don't like it. Then you've got customer satisfaction surveys. These type of surveys are really important to get these scales. So you normally ask on a scale of 1 to 5. So how satisfied were you with today's visit to the site? 1 being not satisfied, 5 being extremely satisfied, and everything in between. Or you may ask about how important was this feature. You may ask about a particular feature. It may be something like a button that they can subscribe, or it may be something that they can purchase with a special offer, and you ask them, well, what was your experience with this offer? Or a sale banner, did you click on it? What was your experience of that? And then you ask them 1 to 5 on a scale of how useful was that banner? How useful was that to you? So these are the type of things that you really want to capture and feed back to stakeholders. Remember, all your metrics about feeding back to the team. Everyone needs to understand that this is what users are saying, and here are the numbers, here's the data, here's the proof. If you can't prove it, it doesn't exist. If you can prove it, then you've got your audience, i.e. your stakeholders, really satisfied that they know they're going in the right direction or the wrong direction, and developers can keep developing according to your feedback. Don't forget, guys, if you have any questions, please drop them below and I'll create more videos for you. Subscribe and add your notifications, click the bell, and I'll see you on the next one. This is 1UX1.